this point in the game, I think I've got a pretty good idea of like what good food is. I mean, everybody has different tastes, but and there's an audience, there's an audience for everything. But I also know what like people like, what they want to look at, what they want to buy, what they want to eat. So if I go to a restaurant's social media page and it's just full of like graphics that doesn't show their food, or it's like, Sunday ticket, right? Or if I go to their website and it's all stock photos, I'm not going to that restaurant no matter what. I just feel like if a restaurant owner is so uneducated and lazy to not spend $300 on a professional photo shoot of their food, I'm not showing up to that restaurant.
If you can
You
go
know,
through that. And even if you don't love the food personally, I'm sure you can still have an appreciation for when it's done well. I mean, obviously, I don't think you're a picky eater.
I'm not a picky eater. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think one of my stronger suits is being able to understand where I'm at and what I should expect. So, like,
Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
like Rudy's Fish, Rudy's in Oswego sucks. And the grand scheme of the world of food and seafood, Rudy's is not good quality food. Okay. For a place that's on the edge of the water, that's frying everything, and it's not like they're driving to Maine to pick up the freshest catch off the boat, right? It's great, for that. And so I can go into Rudy's and understand I'm at a restaurant that's on the edge of the lake that has been here for years, probably has some of those issues, logistical issues and operations. They're frying fish, it's battered and tossed into oil. And so their fish sandwich with Rochester style meat, hot, and American cheese on it, while that's an abomination to food, I can sit there and eat it and be like, hey, this is great. I'm at Rudy's. I understand it,
That's a good point.
Yeah,
It kind of is what it is. Like,
exactly.
yeah, you take it for what it is.
Right.
Hmm. And you probably don't want to go to a restaurant and review something that you're going to give a bad. I mean, how often do you give a bad review?
I don't really ever. I went to a food truck here in Syracuse last year, and the owner, it was just like a weird day. The owner had I was in the office all day and didn't have anything planned for like filming content. The owner sent me a DM and was like, "Hey, come down and check out the food." So I did. I was like, I've got time. I'm going to go down for lunch, and so I did. I went there, bought the food, got in my car and ate it, and it wasn't good. It wasn't great. And I was like, I've been hyping this place up for years in my head. I've seen their
Okay.
food, had been a big admirer of their food. So I try it, and that was just stupid expensive. It was like $30 for lunch. And so in my car, I'm like, the food's not that great, and it's 30 freaking dollars. They're ripping people off. Like, I was like, this place sucks. Don't go there. And I posted the video. Like 3 months later, the owner sees the video. Now, I only posted that on TikTok because, like, I figure it's going to do less damage for the restaurant on TikTok than Instagram or Facebook. So 3 months later, the owner sees it. He starts DMing me, just losing his mind. And we're going back and forth. And then it ends with him saying, "You better hope I don't see you in Syracuse again because I'm going to shoot you if I do." And so I'm like, listen, dude, I'll delete the video. Like,
Don't shoot me.
if this is that big of a deal for you, like you can't handle criticism over the fact that you're charging people too much and your food isn't that great, like I'll delete the video. My point isn't to like ruin your life, My point is to like go try food and tell people about
Be
it.
honest.
Yeah. So from that point, and then honestly, nowadays I hear stories all the time. Creators are getting sued by restaurants because they might put out a negative review. Like they don't like the food, they post about it. The owner sues that creator for damages, right? So it's just not worth it really to take the risk of like putting out negative food. So at least once a week, I try food I don't like. And when that happens, I just don't post the video.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I was gonna say at least you do a little homework too to make sure it's probably something that you're gonna enjoy.
Yes.
So you can leave that positive review.
For sure.
But how much cooler would it be if this food truck you're talking about had you back like 4 months later, changed a couple things, and you were able to be like, honestly, hey, now it's more affordable. This was great. Like the first time I had it, I don't know, maybe it was a bad day. I mean, what better marketing even for their company than
Yeah.
that? It's like, oh wow, because if anyone who had a bad experience now probably wants to try it again.
Right. That would be
Wouldn't
interesting.
that be
Yeah, for sure.
at least as a business owner, I think that would be the way you'd wanna handle it and say it instead of saying, "I'm gonna shoot you."
Yeah, for sure, without a doubt.
Take us back. You started this I mean, I assume you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, 8 years, 10
Oh,
years.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this something you had in mind since you were young? Like, how did this
No,
all come to be?
I grew up in, my parents, we lived in Northern Kentucky till I was about 13 and then moved here to Syracuse, where my dad grew up. And, growing up as a kid, my dad was, in restaurants and hospitality. He went to college for hotel and hospitality management, used to manage restaurants for the Holiday Inn, like regional director way back in the day. And so he's owned his own diners, his own restaurants. And so we just kind of grew up in that. And we grew up in like with a really big servant mindset. We grew up in church and my parents were volunteering for literally everything inside the church. And so we just kind of grew up with that service mentality as kids. And when I was about 8 or 9 years old, my parents opened a 50 style diner in Northern Kentucky where we lived called Cirio's Diner and ripped off hides. He had the food you'll like on the banner on the awning
Okay.
outside of the
Yeah.
diner. People in Kentucky are like, what the hell is this? And they had it open for a year. They spent about a year renovating the restaurant from what it was, and then they were open for a year before they had to shut it down. Now, I was homeschooled for that time, and that really meant that we just existed at the restaurant. Like my brothers went to school like across the street from the diner. And so they were in school. And when they weren't in school, they were at the diner doing whatever. I was up at the diner all day with my parents and it was just nonstop. So I think that sort of like first put me into the mindset of just, the restaurant industry. Um, my first job outside of high school when I graduated from West Hill. My first job to save money and move away was a third shift cook at Denny's on West Genesee Street, which is
In
now the Bird
Camillus?
Dairy.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, yeah, right by Brooklyn Pickle there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that place. That was like
So
24-hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So 18 years old, I'm a third shift line
Yeah.
cook at that Denny's, right? So food just always been in me. And yeah, I moved back here to Syracuse 10 years ago from living in a place called Killeen, Texas, and moved back, got a job, and as a side hustle, just started social media management for restaurants here in Syracuse. Just meant to like make a couple $100 a month, not do anything crazy, but that just kind of led me into building the thing. 2 years into that business, I met a restaurant owner. Never should have opened a restaurant, right? Most of them, in my opinion, should never open restaurants, but they do. And this was like just one of the worst case scenarios. She had a great job at a bank, benefits, health insurance, good salary, great place to live, all that kind of stuff. Loved to cook for her friends and family. And her friends and family were like, you should follow your dreams, pursue your passion. Right? Everybody should do that. You'll be so much happier. Well, she unfortunately did, and she didn't know how to do anything else except for cook food. And their food was good, but she didn't know how to pick a location. She didn't know how to buy food, how to price food, how to market her restaurant, how to hire staff, anything else in the restaurant industry that makes you successful. And so 6 months into her being open, she was going out of business. A friend of a friend connected us at the time and was just like, Anthony does social media. Maybe he can help you. I met with her, it was just, hearing about bad decision after bad decision she had made. And I left that meeting and I thought to myself, I wish I had an Instagram account where I could post right now and get 50 people to show up to her restaurant tonight. It's not going to save her, but it'll help her. And so that night I started the Instagram account for Eat Local New York.
Interesting. Today's episode of Upstate Impact is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen of Central New York. Summer's here, and it's the perfect time to upgrade your windows. With Renewal by Andersen's exclusive Fibrex material and expert installation, you'll get a cooler, more energy-efficient home that looks as good as it feels. Click the link in our show notes to schedule your free quote today. Renewal by Andersen, superior products, exceptional service. It's funny you talk about that. It's almost like you're could be an advisor for restaurants
Yeah.
because marketing's such a
Yeah.
big, obviously you're
Yeah.
very good at marketing. That's what you do. And you do a lot, service for local restaurants
Mhm.
around New York. But like, that's a huge part of it because how many restaurants who have great food don't make it?
Oh, for
I
sure.
was talking about this with Chris Biley. He does a great job
Yeah.
marketing too with his restaurants, and it's like there's so much more. I mean, having good food is a big piece of it,
Right.
but there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk to you about. You said there's a lot of people who open restaurants who shouldn't.
Yeah. Most of them.
And is it because they go into it just, everyone has that dream of like,
Mhm.
oh, when I get enough money, I'm going to open this pizza joint or a coffee shop or, whatever
Yeah.
it is. Like the hospitality, I think, is a pretty common theme of like, I'm going to follow my passion.
Right.
But you said, like you said, most people probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, business ownership, entrepreneurship is not for the majority, I don't think. I mean, you know, I wake up, I'm married, I have a 2.5-year-old, right? My wife, because she's an incredible mother, does most of the heavy lifting with our son, but I'm still up at 6 a.m. every morning. We're out the door at 7 a.m. I'm working at 7:15. I work until 5. I go home, I have dinner with my wife and our son, and they go to bed at like 7:30 and 8 o'clock. And then I'm working until 11 or 12 or sometimes 1 in the morning, and then waking up and doing it all over again. And I'm only doing 250,000 a year in business. I can't imagine, like, you own a restaurant, you're doing 500,000, 1,000,000. How much more do you think that effort do you have to put into it? And to be quite frank, it's not a fun existence. It's a terrible existence to live within the four walls of a restaurant, sacrifice family vacations, time with family, weekends, nights. I mean, it's not a fun, glamorous thing. I love movies like Chef and shows like The Bear, and I hate them because of how many people are like, I've got to do that with my life. If John Favreau can do it on a food truck, I should go do it. And they don't look at the incredible sacrifice of time and money that that's going to take, you know? We get the dream of like, I'm guilty of it too. I just watched Gary Vee, I woke up this
Grind it
morning,
out, baby.
right. I woke up this morning, looked at myself in the mirror and was like, God, you look so terrible. I went outside and did a kettlebell workout for 30 minutes. And I had some stupid 20-minute motivational thing talking about you want to be the best of the best, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. Right. So we hear those things and then we go out and we sacrifice and we do those things to try and become the best. Most of us usually fall short of like true greatness. And we never take into account, wait a minute, is the sacrifice worth it? Do I really just want a 9 to 5? I can go home, I can check out, and I can have great relationships with my family, with my friends. Do I really want to sacrifice and burn out and make my family's life miserable for the next couple of years? Cause I'm going to try and make it with a restaurant. I'm going to try to be one of the 10% that really have a successful restaurant. So for all of those reasons, I wish more people didn't own restaurants. I also wish banks would stop giving loans easily to people who want to open a restaurant
I heard it's getting tough, well, especially now
for the
with
loans.
rates. Yeah,
Yeah.
with restaurant loans. That's what I've heard. We've just gone through the SBA, small business loan
Okay.
application, and that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
But
Make it tougher.
it's funny you say it seems like you would say the opposite, right? You want people opening selfishly. I mean, I kind of do, right? The more restaurants, the more options, right? That's always a good thing. But you want to see people succeed, and just from your experience, if I am someone who maybe has the means to open some sort of restaurant or whatever it may be, what's a good way to kind of get your feet wet to see if it's something that you really want to do? I mean, I think of
Mm.
like a food truck, right? A
Yeah.
little less cost to open. If you close it down, at least you're not stuck in a lease of a brick
Yeah.
and mortar. Is there anything that kind of comes to mind for people? It's like, hey, try this first, then
Right.
you'll know if it's something for you.
I mean, if you want to get your feet wet, don't open a business. Like go volunteer. Like in the restaurant industry, it's called staging. And if you're in like a nicer restaurant, you
Is
know,
that like a program that you can literally just say, hey, I'll come a few hours a week
S-
and do
yes.
what you need me to do?
Well, no, staging is meant really, a stage. If you're going to stage at a restaurant, you're usually doing it like a nicer restaurant. There's probably like 4 of them in Syracuse that know what that word means. But
I was like, I don't know.
if you're in New York City, it would mostly be a common thing. It's actually outlawed today. It's essentially free labor, right? It's an unpaid internship, except you're treated like you're a full-time employee. So, and you usually go stage at a restaurant for like a week or 2 weeks. If you're trying to become an up and coming chef, or you're just like you're out of culinary school, or like you think you know something, you might go stage at a restaurant that's doing something really cool because you just want to be part of it and you can't get a job there. Or maybe you're just trying to learn their technique or whatever the case is. So you go stage at a restaurant and really just learn and absorb as much as you can from them. And then you might go stage at another restaurant after that for a week. So I wish more people would go. If you want to do it, if you think you have a great job right now, you want to own a restaurant, first and foremost, spend 4, 5, 6 months on YouTube University, learning anything and everything you can on what it takes to own and operate a successful restaurant in whatever area of food. You want to be a steakhouse, go figure it out. You want to be a diner, go do that. So go spend as much time as you can learning everything online about it. And then start going to restaurants at 2 or 3 in the afternoon when they're typically not busy, and ask to talk to the owner or the kitchen manager, or the chef, or the front of house, whoever it is, and get their advice. I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Get as much information as you possibly can from YouTube University, from real life examples, people in your community, and just put in the time, interview them, ask as many questions, and figure out what it's actually going to take to own and operate a restaurant before you ever think about what your menu is going to be, you know?
That's sound advice. I think of, in the business world, right? Oh, all right, this guy does a lot of real estate. I'm going to shadow him, right? I'm going to help
Right.
him out. Even if I'm grabbing coffee, at least I'm going to be around him to learn,
Yeah.
right? I think my brother who does farming, an organic farmer, I think it's a program called Woofing.
Okay.
And it's like you travel around to different parts of the country and literally volunteer on their farm. They
Yeah.
put you up, they feed you, but then you don't really get paid, but you learn how to
Yeah.
farm and you learn different techniques and you learn different things. Why would they make that illegal in the restaurant? I mean, I understand
Well,
free labor, but it's like if you're
yeah.
willing to volunteer, that's odd.
The restaurant industry, especially in like larger cities, especially in larger cities, it's a completely different world than it is in smaller communities like Syracuse. Like it's incredibly competitive if you're like, especially if you're at a nicer restaurant, for people to get jobs there, because they can be, springboards into an incredible career, or, celebrityship, or whatever the hell it is. And so, yeah, free labor or just abusive labor in kitchens in larger cities has been like kind of the MO for decades and decades and decades and decades. And, so that's where like they started to, there was like a ban on, free labor essentially, which is, listen, is a great thing. If you're like, I want to get a job at this restaurant, and the restaurant's like, you have to come sacrifice and work 80-hour weeks for the next month for, no pay. Yeah, there's something wrong with that. A restaurant owner, somebody who wants to own a restaurant, who wants to go volunteer and do it for a week or two, there's nothing wrong with that.
You start an Instagram account
Yeah.
and did you have a goal with it? You're like, I just want to be able to help publicize different restaurants around town. Did you know what way you were going to go with it? Did you know you'd be doing reviews?
No, I didn't. I mean, I started the Instagram account just with that goal of one day building the following and being able to post and help a restaurant out. Not knowing like how it was going to make money to help me be able to do that. So we went through a few iterations. The way we first started was like an annual membership for a restaurant, like $100 a year. Okay. In order to like be listed on the website and be posted about. And it was like, hey, if we can get 10 restaurants to sign up for that, we'll cover the web costs for the year, right? Um, and I think we had like 10 or 20 restaurants do it. Waste of money for them. $100 a year was such a waste. We didn't do anything for them, just because we didn't know,
You weren't
right?
big, yeah.
And so, yeah, so we did that for the first year. And then I had the idea for the Eat Local New York card, which was a rip off of a friend of mine did something similar in Cincinnati. And that was a discount card. You bought it every year as a consumer for $25, and then you got $5 off at all the restaurants that participated. And I
You
did,
spend $25, you
yeah,
get
yeah.
$5 off, right? Yeah.
And
I
so,
purchased one of those.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I love that. I
I
love
thought it
that
was awesome.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, saw you at Harvey's Garden. You had like a little booth set up. And
Yeah.
you're giving me the spiel. I'm like, done. I bought like two because I got one for
Nice.
my sister's boyfriend. I'm like, he'll love this. He
Yeah.
goes to one of these restaurants. So I kept one.
Yeah. I thought that was great. It's just that's a whole separate business aside from the, everything else. And the other thing I didn't like about that business was it prevented me from really being 100% honest on my opinion on like what we're talking about here. I just constantly run around and say everything is great, and I love every restaurant that's ever existed in the universe, right? So,
They're all awesome. Everything's
um,
tasty.
but we did that. We did the card for 5 years, and it was cool. It was fun, but it's a whole separate business. What really made me want to stop doing the card was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when knew video was the thing, I had to start doing video um, every day if I wanted to like really grow the page. I didn't know how to do video. I didn't know how to frame a video posted on my account that would get, results for somebody. And so I'm always this is the problem. What's the quickest way to the solution type of a person. So like I'll shoot first, aim later. Um, and for me, that answer was, "Hey, I'm at this restaurant. Here's what I'm eating. This is what I think about it. You should go there. Goodbye." Right. And so that's what I did, doing reviews of myself on camera.
There's
Um,
value in that.
there is value in it for sure. It's just today, if I post anything except for me on camera saying "wow," nobody cares. So yeah, those videos don't get views if it's not me on camera eating food. Um, but yeah, so it was just I started doing that like 4 years ago, and now today it's it's crazy. I mean, I'm still this important, right? The tiniest microcosm of importance in the world of like the internet and video and influencers and all that kind of stuff. But it still makes an impact for restaurants, so it's
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, you see, of course, that's such a vast, the internet.
Right,
But as they say, like if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're appealing to no one,
for sure.
right? So you kind of find your niche, and eat local New York. Did you like starting that? Are you focused on upstate New York? That at
Mm.
least that kind of seems to be a lot of the places you stop. Do you go
Yeah,
downstate a lot?
I try to get everywhere. I mean, I'm covering the whole state. uh
Downstate's a whole nother animal.
Downstate's a whole nother animal. Like there's New York City in every borough, and I mean,
Yeah,
you
Long
could just
Island.
right, you could just go exist in Brooklyn for the rest of your
I was just gonna
life.
say you need 20
Yeah,
more of you to even
right.
cover half of it.
I hired a content creator who lives in New York City. I found him on TikTok. He was making great content. He lost his job at like some corporate thing last year. And then he started a TikTok account saying, "I'm unemployed in New York City and here's everything I made and spent in a day." And then he would just go through like, all right, I got to go downtown. So I'm taking the bus. That's $3. And I've got to eat. So I found this place. It's $4. And I got this odd job giving a tennis lesson. So that's $100. And he would do the totals at the end of the day. And I watched enough of his content. I was like, all right, he knows how to make a video. So I just reached out. I was like, I'll send you to the restaurant. You make the video, and send it to me, and I'll do the voiceover. He's not on camera, and I'll pay you $50 a video. And he was like, sold. And he did a few of them, and he was good. So then I decided, all right, let's just put you on camera. So now Ryan's his name. He's on camera. He does a video a week from New York City, goes to different restaurants, gets paid more money.
Yeah, and he's probably never gonna run out of restaurants, especially
Never,
going once a week.
yes, never going to run out of spots.
But I feel like they said you could eat in Manhattan for like 5 years at a different place every night.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
You focus on New York food,
Yeah.
but you're from Kentucky. I'm
Mhm.
sure you go back there from time to time.
Yeah.
You lived in Texas, clean, you're
Yeah.
saying. Do you get outside of New York just to try different things to compare? I
Mm.
mean, how often do you look at like New York just to get a different perspective, I
Yeah.
guess?
No, I don't really I mean, in the world of food,
You do
to
have a
us,
young kid, so I know
yeah.
you're not traveling too
Yeah, I've got
much.
a 2.5-year-old. We're not
Yeah.
doing anything. People ask me like, "Well, where do you eat for fun?" I'm like, "Nowhere. We don't go out for fun. We have a 2.5-year-old." So, and we're so rigid with our schedule and our routine with him. But no, I mean, I look at the internet a lot. I've got some clients that are like really forward thinking restaurant owners who are constantly scouring the internet to see what are the viral foods at other restaurants around the country and how can they bring them to their restaurant with their spend to make money. And so I have two clients who do that. And so I'm doing that for them. I'm constantly scouring the internet, just seeing what's going to help somebody pop off. This is hitting in New York City. Let's take it and put our spin on it. We'll do the same thing here. And, 95% of the time that works and they get really busy from it. So for that I am, but for actually physically traveling, no. I try not. Tonight is an incredibly rare opportunity that we're staying the night in Rochester. Because we got a late night tonight at a restaurant, tomorrow morning in Buffalo, and then back home. But for the most part, I'm leaving my house by like 6 or 7, and then trying to be back home by like 5 or 5:30.
And you're doing this full time.
Yeah,
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 I figured. So you got a night in Rochester,
yeah,
breakfast in Buffalo.
yeah.
Like, we talked about this earlier, but it seems like you have to be a little strategic, right? You
Mhm.
can't be upstate's a pretty big area. And then not
Right.
to mention if you end up going downstate, some restaurants are starting to reach out to you.
Mhm.
So it sounds like you do a good job at just finding what you think is going to be good, what's going to be a good review.
Yeah.
Do you give them a heads up you're coming?
It varies. Like tomorrow in Buffalo, I am for most of the restaurants, and I've got yeah, an assistant, Lindsay, that works for me, and she does a great job of like reaching out to the restaurants and scheduling stuff for me, and then sending me the itinerary. So tomorrow we're going to Moriarty, or what's today? Thursday? Yeah, tomorrow we're going to be at Moriarty Meats in the morning. They're like letting us in early. We're going to a place called Sterling Tavern that I think is pretty new, but I saw their bread and I was like, I've got to get out there. And then we're going to Frank's Gourmet Hot Dogs, all in Buffalo. And if we have time, we're going to try and hit up like one of the classic buffalo wing spots that I just haven't been to yet. And then we stop on the way back to Syracuse. We stop in Rochester for this like once every 3 year pop up that's happening at a restaurant, to try a smash burger, and then we come back home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do they usually give you free food?
It varies. So if I
think
go
it'd be
to
a no-brainer to give you free food. Like, why would they? I mean, for
yeah,
the publicity alone.
if we reach out to the restaurant and if we reach out to the restaurant in advance and like try to coordinate the visit, we just say like, hey, we want to come in and make a video about you to feature you on our page. If you could just provide like 1 or 2 or 3 of like the items you want to feature, like your best stuff, most popular thing, we'll make a video. Um, and if I don't like the food, if I don't like the way it tastes or whatever, then I pay for it and I never post the video. Um, if usually if I'm standing outside eating food or if I'm in my car, that means I didn't give him a heads up. I was just in the area. I stopped in, I bought something, I made a video.
Yeah, I just said, you ever just driving by, you're like, what is this place? Let me check it out.
Yeah, for
And I'll
sure
do a video.
that. Or if I'm somewhere and I have like 30, 40 minutes to an hour, I'll look at my list and just be like, all right, where am I at? What's near me? Let me go over there real quick, because I constantly need content, to post at least every day. So yeah, so for Buffalo, like we're strategic. I'm not going to go to Buffalo for one restaurant. If I'm going to Buffalo, I'm going to try and fit as many restaurants into that day as I possibly can, because then I can come back home and edit and post and schedule, and I don't have to go to Buffalo for another 3 months.
Yeah, you don't want to be shooting out there once a week if you don't have to be.
Right.
You do the content.
Mhm.
You have a great podcast.
Thanks.
You feature a bunch of local business, restaurant owners and food places, and it's very entertaining. I was listening to a couple this morning actually,
Nice.
just to kind of get in the mindset. But then you were talking about Eat Local New York Week.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit. You mentioned it. You didn't really go into, or at least
Yeah.
in this podcast, you didn't go into detail.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
I forgot. I was going to tell you at the top of this podcast. At the end of it, remind me. I'm going to announce something. I'm announcing
Okay.
the first time here
Let's do it.
in public. So, Eat Local New York Restaurant Week, we started last year. We launched it. I've thought about it for like 3 or 4 years. It's just a normal restaurant week promotion, right? Like just like downtown dining weeks here in Syracuse or any other city. Restaurants offer a 3 course. It's meant to be like a 3 course tasting menu for, $25, $30, $35, meant just bring in new customers, right? Baldwinsville has done this for like 6 or 7 years. Jeff Rogers started it and hired me to help him with the marketing for it every year. So I've been able to see how much those promotions help restaurants, especially in slow season. And Yeah, so I just always thought it would be really cool to do one across the whole state. Nobody's ever done one across the whole state. And so we did the first one last year. We had over 100 restaurants, participate, from all over New York, Buffalo to Brooklyn, Potsdam, Southern Tier, you name it. And then we're going to be bringing it back again in 2026.
When was it?
Last year, I forget the exact dates. I think it was in April. And this year, I think
Okay.
we're moving it up a week or two.
And so would you consider that a slow season?
It can be a slower season. This year, actually this in 2025, we did the last week of April, the first week of May, which depending on where you're at can vary. And Syracuse, that first week of May is like the lottery. It's, you've got Cinco de Mayo, which every white person that, has ground beef and can buy a tortilla does a
Yeah.
taco special.
Some margs.
Which is always fun. And and then college graduation weekend, May 10th.
And the weather's turning usually. At
Weather's
that point.
turning. And Syracuse for a restaurant, like your three biggest weekends are all around SU. It's like move in, parents weekend, graduation,
Yeah, good luck getting a reservation. those
exactly.
weekends.
It's
Yeah.
different in other cities, Buffalo, they, Rochester, they don't have like big around that time, but, so we're going to move it up like 2 weeks, this year and do it just earlier in April. But yeah,
What do you see is missing, at least in upstate New York, right? Obviously, this is Upstate Impact podcast, and I feel like downstate has a lot more options, a lot more diversity in their food. But we got some good options, at least here locally in Syracuse, between Rochester and Buffalo. I haven't eaten as much there, but what do you think's missing?
it's hard to say that in general for upstate because I love, love, love Syracuse. And I also hate Syracuse food scene. Um,
That's
uh,
most people's opinion, right? The love hate.
it really is, and I'm definitely like I'm a pessimistic personality as it stands, and so I have to be aware of that. But I use this story to sort of give the example of the difference between Syracuse and Rochester. So I don't charge restaurants for posts like most influencers. Okay, most influencers that have like a big following, right? If a restaurant reaches out today, like they go on my list and then they go at the bottom of the list just to keep it fair and then they work their way up. And that does mean some restaurants I may not get to for like a year and a half that are on the list.
Big list.
Yeah. And it's over 1,000 restaurants across the state. Um, but I'd give restaurants the option if you'll help cover my expenses, like the time and the gas, and then pay for the editor that I'm going to hire to edit your video. You can pay a couple $100 and I'll come out right away.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the fair way to do it without being like, sorry, if you want me to come review your restaurant, you got to pay me for it. So I say all of that to say this, the difference between Syracuse and other cities in New York, but especially in Rochester. When I first really started doing videos, a local coffee shop in Syracuse reached out to me and said, man, you've got to come try my new breakfast burrito or whatever it was, and make a video about it. It'd be great. And so I gave him the same options like, hey, man, I'll get there in like a couple weeks. I'm pretty busy. If you want to help cover the cost of the editor, I'll come make the video. I'll send it to the editor. He'll edit it real quick. And I was like, I pay the editor $50 at the time. And
So you're essentially like $50.
$50, I'll come tomorrow and do the video. Like I can fit into my schedule. I'll pay the editor. We'll get it out for you right away. That owner laughed at me and said, I would never pay you $50 to come make a video about my food. And I was like, okay.
Thanks.
That next week, a restaurant in Rochester reached out and they were like, hey, come out and try our food. Same thing. Hey, I'm tied up for a month. I can fit it in if you can cover like $200 for me to, got to drive to Rochester back. I wasn't really going to Rochester at all the time. That owner was like, that's all you want? Get out. Sure. Come out tomorrow. That owner actually wound up sending me $500 a month after the video came out because he had done so much in sales. And so, so that's the difference between Syracuse and Rochester. And, even, same thing with Buffalo. Buffalo is an incredible market. There are so many more restaurants out in Rochester. It's obviously a bigger city, but so many more restaurants, so much more diversity and quality. of restaurants. There's garbage plate spots that are doing a great job. There's high-end steakhouses we're gonna be at tonight that are doing like, there's anything and everything out there, and they get it. Like, not obviously not every restaurant, but a lot of the ones that I deal with, they just understand it. They know what they have to do to be successful. And I just took a screenshot before walking in here to like send it to a friend. A restaurant just did the dumbest AI post. They tried to take this viral trend of the CEO at the Coldplay concert, which by the way is already dead
Yeah,
4
I was
days
gonna
later.
say people have been beating that dead horse
And
for
they must have like the most backwards free AI generated thing that they sent to make this thing because it's a cartoon and there's 5 arms and the concept is the CEO is holding the mistress, but also holding a sign that says, "This restaurant makes the freshest ingredients and you should come try it." And it's the dumbest freaking thing I've ever seen. But
Is that even a good association with your restaurant?
it's just one of those things. It's like if there's a bad example of what to do in social media for a restaurant, this is the example. But, this owner made that thing and then posted it and probably thought it was a good idea and that it would drive people
Honey,
into
check this out. This is great.
right. I'm not saying there aren't restaurants in every corner of the universe that do the same thing because there are, and I see them all over the state because I follow these restaurants, but it's just more here.
Yeah.
I during the pandemic, everybody was going on podcasts, right? Like you could get any big wig you wanted on your podcast in the beginning of the pandemic because
There
what the
wasn't
hell
much
else were
else
they
going
doing,
on.
right?
Yeah.
I did this interview with this massive like restaurant developer in New York City. And he was asking me like, "You're in Syracuse, what's it like up there?" And my analogy was Syracuse restaurants are like 5 years behind Buffalo, which means they're 10 years behind New York City and all the cool stuff that's happening. And it's to a certain extent true. I don't know what it is. I asked Stephen Page, the former lead singer of the Bare Naked Ladies, this once because he was on my podcast, and I was asking him this in regards to like local music. Like local music in Syracuse seems like me when I was in high school trying to play Dashboard Confessional in my bedroom, right? Can I cuss on this
You
podcast?
got any videos of that?
No. Can I cuss on your podcast?
Yeah.
Me trying to cover Dashboard Confessional was a really shitty version of Dashboard Confessional
Yeah.
song, right? It sounded like absolute dog shit. And that's kind of how some of the, art local music is in Syracuse too. It's like shitty covers of great songs. And so I asked him like, why is that? Because if I'm in Cincinnati, if I'm back home there, the local music scene's incredible. People are writing originals that it's like, this should be on the radio. And his answer was, I can't speak to Syracuse, but if you live in a community where people don't get out and go experience things and experience life and explore themselves and art and all these different things, like, yeah, they're never going to be able to create anything truly original, truly great, truly themselves. And I think that's true with our restaurant scene. Again, not all of them, but
Yeah.
a lot of them.
So I'm trying to like, so you're saying get out, like as a restaurant owner, like get to other places to be able to kind of form your own, what's going to work for me, what am I passionate about, what, little twists that I learn along the way. Is that
Yes.
what you kind of mean? As opposed to just
Yes.
like, I'm going to open up this place. I already have it in mind. I thought of it when I was 10.
Right.
And this is going to be the restaurant.
Yeah. If your dream is a cheeseburger with peanut butter and jelly and bacon, like if that's your dream cheeseburger on your menu, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. I'd take it back to the story you told for the $50 to come out.
Yeah.
I mean, how short-sighted can you
Right.
be as a business owner? I mean, not only is that a business expense, so it's not even like, think about the taxes, you would pay on that anyway if you're taking it as income, but like
Right.
what, yeah, and then you pay $25 a month for this AI generator
yeah.
to get 7 views.
Oh, yeah, it's
Because
crazy.
like the algorithm's not picking that up, like you said. If it's not you reviewing, right, there's something about having a face on social media that really triggers the algorithm. People want to see people.
Yes.
They don't want to see fake things.
Yeah,
Because you don't
for
know
sure.
what's real. It's just like even me, you find yourself just scrolling. And I think
Oh, yeah.
all the big social media platforms know that.
There's a big move amongst true creatives that are so anti AI right now. in all forms, you know. Mike Green, who you know,
Yeah.
he and I were having this conversation about just Chat GPT. It has, in like the year that I've been using it, it has made me so much dumber. I misspell so many things nowadays. Um, and it's almost to a point where like if it's something that's serious that I'm doing, like I was sending an email to a potential sponsor and I was like had to sit there on the couch on my laptop and make the conscious effort that I was going to be the one that put the effort into this email. I wasn't going to rely on Chat GPT to like even make it sound friendlier, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if I'm having that thought, that's kind of a problem with, you know,
Well, it's funny you say like make it sound front friendly. Or sometimes you give it a prompt and you're like, oh God, no, that's not
yes,
me,
that's
right?
for
It
sure.
sounds like terrible. And I think
Yeah.
obviously it has its use. As you say, you use it. I mean, there's definitely some value to it, but it can be you almost have to like you have to create it
Yeah.
and let it like edit a little bit. Like that's
Yeah.
I think it's best use, at least for me. If you try to say, hey, do this for me, it's
Right.
never what you think it's gonna be.
No, it's not. I mean, I had it for Restaurant Week last year. It coded the entire web page that listed all the restaurants that were
That's what it's good for
participating.
too.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's incredible. I mean, that saved me $4,000 that I would typically spend send to my web person. But also, what's good for humanity is now my web person didn't make $4,000, and who
Good
knows how
point.
their business is working.
Yeah, and plus all the the energy that AI
Yes,
uses. They say forget how much energy just from people saying thank you to AI.
it's
I
crazy.
think it's Sam Altman. ChatGPT's like,
Yeah,
don't say thank you. You're
right.
literally just wasting, energy and resources.
Yeah.
5, 10 years from now,
Mhm.
where do you envision Eat Local New York? Like, what do you have
Mhm.
a plan? Do you enjoy what you're doing now? Do you
Yeah.
expect just to consistently grow, or you're like, hey, maybe if I get some funding, I get
Mhm.
some backers behind me, I'd love to do this, this, and this. Like, is there anything that kind of comes to mind?
I've thought about that. My original hope was Eat Local New York would turn into like some sort of a combination of like Eater meets Barstool Sports meets First We Feast, a larger media company covering food and beverage and restaurants in New York State, and just have a crazy variety of shows and content and hosts that we're putting out. But I think I made the mistake of like it's successful, don't get me wrong, but I did make this mistake in direction of putting myself on camera 100% because we posted a video of Ryan from New York City 2 weekends ago and all the comments were like, who is this guy? Get him off camera. Um
Hey.
so so that's the challenge. Like I put myself on this path of I'm at this restaurant. Wow, and so while that is successful and there's a lot more room for growth and success with that, I don't know if it's ever really going to like get to that media company that I wanted to be. Michael Green and I just started a new media company called The Sidewalk,
Yeah.
which is
That's right.
covering, food and beverage, but also just, culture, events, just fun stuff, all positive message from Albany to Buffalo. So I think that's sort of our way. That's my way, part of my way to like get into the media company landscape without, making the bad decision of just it being myself on camera. So in 5, 10 years, I don't know, man. I'm gonna be 39 years old. Do people really want to see like a 42-year-old on camera saying wow, eating food? I don't know if they do.
Clearly.
I mean, I don't know if I'd want to. I don't know if I want to watch that content. I think as long as I can continue to make an impact, and I don't know how great of an impact. I don't know what the threshold of impact is that I can make in a restaurant, and it doesn't work every time. Um, One of my best friend's restaurants, I posted a video for him, and like a dozen people showed up, which is great, but it's not a lot. And then I post a video about a different restaurant, and they have to like shut down for 3 days because they ran out of food. So
Wow.
as long as I can continue to make a difference in the line. I mean, I got an email from this guy that incredible food. I mean, probably one of the best sandwiches, one of the best chicken wings I've ever had anywhere in New York State. And they're down in Niskayuna. It's called Meat and Company. And, he sent me this email like 4 months after I visited. And he said, um, my wife and I have this restaurant. It's a passion. They've been working in the industry all their life. They finally get the courage to open up their own place and do their own thing. And he said in the email, I found your account and I followed you and I was like praying that you would come in and do a review on our restaurant to help us like get customers. And after like 3 or 4 nights of doing that, I unfollowed you because I thought I'm not going to rely on this guy to drive the customers in. I'm going to figure out a way to do it myself. The day after I unfollowed you, you sent me a DM and said, I'm going to be in the area. I want to stop in and do a video. So I go down there, I make the video, and the food's incredible. I post it out, and it did well. I think it got like 100,000 views, 200,000, somewhere around there.
Nice.
But it was my first time in Albany and like that region. Like I don't have
A huge following.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it would do much, but in his email, he said we had to start working twice as many hours a week. We had to double our staff. We had 30 people coming in, 20 or 30 people coming in every single day from Canada, Boston, New York City, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, saying they saw your video and they're here to try the food. And he was like, completely changed our business. So I get stuff like that, and I'm like, I'll do this as long as I can if I can,
right.
right. So that kind of makes up for the comments saying, we hope you choke on the next chicken tender you eat, and your thumbs look ugly. What did you do to your thumbs? Is a comment I've gotten. Yeah, you looked at my thumbs. Does that look like an ugly thumb, Luke?
I mean, I don't.
That's
I think
a
it
clip.
looks like a fine thumb.
There's a clip right here for your social media. Is
Yeah.
that an ugly thumb, Luke? But like you'll get comments like that of just like dumb
That's
things.
gonna happen
For
Yeah,
sure.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's funny. You're talking about Ryan did the video, and people are like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Right.
I just think of like I have a 2-year-old and a
Okay.
4.5-year-old, and they watched Blippi. Not even a lot,
Yeah.
but you know how Blippi. There's a new Blippi, and I'm like walking by. I'm like, "Who the heck is this guy?" I'm like, I got mad. I don't even watch the show, so it's like it just changed, right?
Yeah.
People are like, "Wait, that's not who I'm used to
For
seeing."
sure.
So it is tough when you put yourself in the forefront there, and you try to kind of get away from it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, if it's still good content, it's still good content.
Yeah.
It's still gonna stick. And I think you're building a huge following, right? Now you have the podcast too. You're in touch with all these restaurant owners. You might think of something when you walk out the door here that you
Mhm.
could do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of have the pieces in place, and it's, you clearly enjoy what you're doing. I think you're going to have plenty of opportunities, and it's going to
Yeah.
kind of shift as you shift. Right.
Right.
And what you get interested in. I mean, I could just think of right now, like you could partner with potential businesses like, hey,
Yeah.
minority owner, and,
Yeah.
I'll help review and,
Sure.
help promote and consult. I mean, you
Yeah.
already know a ton, and it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious.
Yeah, we're to the point now. There's a lot of shows I've had like ideas for and dreams of doing one day, but they require a lot of time and a lot of money to produce them well. And so, but we're getting to the point of talking to larger companies that have nothing to do with the food industry. But we reached 11 million people in content last month. So for a business that could come on and sponsor that and be a part of like getting their name and their logo in front of all those people on our content, that's huge. So now we're exploring. We had a few conversations with companies, like regional companies around New York, about sponsoring larger series like that. So that'll help us like do a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Anthony, you got to give us the big news here, man.
All right,
We've all been waiting.
Yeah. So later this year, we're going to launch Eat Local New York's 69 favorite restaurants across the state.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we're excited about that. So
69, huh?
Yeah, people are always. It's just it's like I
Random.
can't get it to 100. I can't get it to 75.
Yeah.
I don't want to limit it at 50. So, so yeah, the top 69 restaurants that I just find are my favorite. We're gonna launch that list later this year.
How are you going to roll it out? Is it going to be like a slow once?
I don't. That's a good question. Yeah, we haven't.
You
we
announced
haven't-
it. Yeah, so you say if you figure out what you're going to do, you'll figure
We
it out.
know.
along the
I
way.
know it's gonna be videos highlighting all 69 of those restaurants. I just don't know in like what order, what series. But yeah.
Sweet. Well, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, man.
And Anthony, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
Big fan, and best of luck with everything, you have going on. And I'll still be following you and maybe have you on
Yeah.
again soon here.
Thanks, man.
Sweet.